Hello, Tam Fam. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be creating a beautiful, glamorous crystal. Well, not a, I'll be making several wedding centerpieces. And this is part 2 of my crystal wedding series. So last week, I made the bouquet and the napkin rings, and this week, I'll be making 3 different ideas for a centerpiece. So the first idea, I want to make something that is grand and something that is very tall in scale. So I'm going to be using these bamboo skewers from the Dollartreediys, the longest ones that they carry, and usually you get that at the summer season. So I always pick up about 10 of them every season. So every season I pick up a few, because I know that once they are done, you never see them again until the next year, and they are very versatile. So what I'm adding them to are 2 pieces from the Dollar Tree. This is just a wooden plaque, and you know those, I think those are about 6 by 6. And then I'm going to use that for the top, and it actually could be for the top or bottom. And then I had another 6 by 6, and that was a canvas. So I just took the canvas off, and I'm reusing these from previous DIYs. So nothing new here except the bamboo skewers. So I'm going to use a tremendous amount of hot glue, and I'm going to place the sticks, and these have the pointed tip. I'm going to show you a trick I use to make sure that I cut off the exact amount for each piece. So all I'm going to do here is just glue those around, and I had to do this a few times because I wasn't paying attention and was gluing them at the incorrect spaces. So I wanted to make sure that they were on the insides, so all 4 of them could be balanced. So I'm just going to take a piece of tape. I believe this is masking tape, and I'm cutting it. I'm not sure what the length is, but I'm cutting it so that when I put it at the top or the tip where it's pointed, so every time I will get the same cut, because I'm just measuring the length of that tape. So I'm going to use my miter shears, these are called, and I'm just going to cut right where the tape ends. And then you see I'm just going to use that same piece of tape and place it over all 4 pieces and get the same length, because I'm an eyeball crafter. Now of course I could have measured and maybe marked them or whatever, but I found that this was the easiest way to do it for me. So once I have them all cut, now it's time to glue them to the opposite ends, and I'm going to glue them on the inside of the canvas form, the wooden piece of the canvas form. So once I have connected all 4 sides, I'm then going to, I decided instead of just leaving it plain, I do want you to be, Cody, quiet! I want it to be high so that the guests at the table would be able to look through and see through it. But I did want there to be some type of design on the sides. So here I'm just playing around with some more bamboo sticks to see if I can get a pattern. And the first thing that I decided was on a crisscross. So I'm going to crisscross 2 more and of course do the same technique to cut the exact measurement off of both. So once I've done that, I'm going to come in again with another design. I apologize for the noise in my house, y'all. I'm doing getting some shelves put in, and the boys are just having the time of their lives. So I'm pretty much just gonna hot glue these two pieces to the corners of the opposite of each side. So I just put the other one over and hot glued to one corner, and then hot glued it to the other corner on the top to make my cross. So hot glue on one end on the bottom, then hot glue on the opposite end on the top to make my cross. Now the last time I did a DIY using these bamboo sticks, it was so hard to get them cut. Oh my goodness, I had to use a scissor, then I had to use the utility knife, and I was watching somebody's video. I can't even remember who it is at this point, but I saw them use this tool here and I was like, oh my god, I need that in my life. So I ordered this from Amazon, so I will try to link it in the description box below. And it really cuts through these bamboo skewers really easily. So if you do not have one of those miter boxes, or you don't have a saw to go and get them cut, then this is a good option for you. And I believe they were pretty inexpensive. So now, and this is where these shears come in really handy, right? So now I want to cut this at an angle. So you see here, I'm starting to start a little pattern. So I want it to be at an angle. So I'm going to turn the shears to that angle and then cut on a bias so that I can glue that bias piece onto this half of my X. See what I'm doing there? So I'm going to hot glue it onto this piece that's running diagonal in the center. And then I'm just going to cut another piece. Maybe this is about an inch and a quarter. And then I'm going to cut another piece that is about an inch and a quarter away from that, and then a third piece that's another inch and a half away from that, just to kind of give me just a little design, a little more intricacy to this design, so it's not that plain. And of course you can do whatever you want if you decide to recreate this. Now if you're doing this for a wedding, if I was doing this for a wedding, I probably would not use these bamboo stirrers from the Dollar Tree, because they are thin and they actually do a good job. I was surprised at how sturdy it was, but if I was going out for a wedding, I would go all out and just get the what you call those again? The dowels. I would get the thicker dowels from like a Michael's or Walmart or something, so I could have them really super sturdy. But there's nothing going on the top but flowers and crystals, so I really don't need a lot. But if I were doing this for a wedding, I probably would have sprung for the thicker ones, even though they cost more. So you see that I'm just holding down that cut that I made on the bias or in an angle, and once I've hot glued that, then I hot glue the bottom piece to the actual canvas board. So this is the pattern I decided to go with, and you'll see it start to take shape in a little bit. But guys, you have to be patient when you're doing this. So by the time it's hot glued, it becomes a little bit more than 1.25 inches because it kind of like fans out a little bit. So I really like this design. And once I finish doing that on this side, I'm going to move on down and complete the same pattern on the other side. And I'm going to flip the whole base on the other side and repeat all of those steps. So this takes a little time.
What?
I can tell that you're speechless because you gave us a
I am speechless. It got no business looking this good. No business. Ooh, child.
So this is the second part of our series, and I'm doing this with Miss Glam Queen herself, Glam Queen of DIY, Miss Tammy Tam. I love me some Tammy Tam. She is so amazing, has such an awesome spirit, and she is so kind and talented and sweet and funny, y'all. Miss Tammy is hilarious, and I absolutely love her, and I appreciate her friendship here on YouTube. And she is co-hosting with Ray of One Way Designs, and we are bringing you this crystal wedding series, and it's a 4-part series. So this is part 2. Last week was part 1. I will have last week's video linked in the description box below. Okay guys, so for part 2 of the video, I'm gonna have to do this tutorial backwards. Okay, chick. Anyways, so what had happened was I lost my footage. I don't know what happened to it. Well, I kind of know what happened to it. Something's wrong with my SD card. So I stayed up for hours in the morning recording 2 nights in a row, and it recorded, and both nights it just decided, I'm not even gonna show up on your card. So y'all, you've seen me create this piece. I don't know what to call it, some type of pedestal lantern situation. So I'm just gonna kind of walk you through what I did in order to put it together. Now, so to say that I am frustrated is an understatement, okay? So here's what I did. Let me just start with this piece first. So you saw me do the base. I did the whole thing, and then ended up going with gold. Now, what I did was I added 2 little pieces of dowels on the bottom of here, because this is a piece from a previous DIY. Okay, it's attached to foam. This part is a little tricky, but not quite. All I really did was, so let me start with the outer portion. So these chains are from the bag of crystals that I showed you before. So at any rate, this bag of crystals is what I used. So if you can see here, I pretty much just went on there and hot glued all the way around 4 corners, right? That's what I did for that piece. Then here in the middle, I took a length of about 20 crystals. So whatever I did on one side, I mirrored on the other side. So I took another length of about 20 crystals, glued that in the middle, a length of about 15. Do that on each side. Did the same thing over here. Okay, so everything is mirrored. Then when I got to this part, I wanted to mirror the effect that I have going on in my other DIY, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. So again, I took another length and just swagged it, sorry. Just made a little swag and then have a little piece hanging in the middle. I did the same thing in the back. I just added another crystal right here. Okay, so what I did was, guys, on the side, let me show you. Now, if you're familiar with my kitchen backsplash, you know it's mirrored tiles. So I have some extras and I just separated one of the packs. And these were from a previous DIY, so I just hot glued 3 pieces on here. And of course, again, I mirrored it on the other side. Now, this thing is fairly sturdy, right? It can be moved, it can be repositioned, because these Dollar Tree ones, they will do the job, particularly because of the height. So this is about, I don't know, 24 inches high, right? So this technically could go on your floor as well. Now I created it this height because if this is going to be your centerpiece, I wanted your guests to be able to see through. And this piece, you know I love stuff that dangle. I keep telling you guys that every week. So I just got one of these geraniums from the Dollar Tree. And I had this at home and I just added a piece of bling to tie it. And then these crystals, again from a previous DIY, just added it from the center. So you see I have that kind of be mirrored here in the back as well. And that's it for this. Now, to top this off, guys, here's the bouquet I made last week. All I'm going to do is this, and it's going to elevate it just that much more. So do you see that? Okay, you can play around with it, put it back a little bit. Okay, so that's that right there. And again, nobody needs to look up there, so their view when they're sitting down at your table will be seen through here. So that's what I've done with this one. Okay, if you guys want to follow this, and of course I covered here with some of that blue ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and then I went over it with some bling wrap. I don't know what to call this one, but it's a little different from the regular one. And I just covered where you can see the glue on these edges right here. Okay, so this is pretty much what I end up with. So you could have used something else to place on the top. Maybe a smaller set of florals or something to that effect. In the middle, you didn't have to have florals also in the middle. Maybe put a mirror or something. And of course, right in here, I'm just going to put flowers in here. I could have put crystals in here. The choice is yours. You can do whatever you want to do to that. Okay, now on to this DIY. On my live on Sunday, I was talking about using 2 cans of tomato sauce that I just used to make some baked ziti. So what I did was I just took off the wrapper off of the can, and this is the floral bling wrap. And I didn't even bother doing anything else with the can because you can hardly see that that's what's under here. And so this is what I did, and this part was so tedious, y'all, because to get into these loops here, to get into these loops to be able to string them in, because these are double wired, so you have to get into the hoop, and it just is very tedious and time consuming. So when it got to this DIY, I pretty much just hot glued instead of trying to hook them into the ribbon. So for this one here, I took a tea light candle holder, and I just went into my cupboard and took a wine glass, okay, and that's what I did to the bottom. So this is hot glue and E6000 because you know this is really thin. So next thing I did to kind of coordinate my stuff from last week, if you remember, I had this situation going on for the napkin rings. So I just took another piece of this round, about 1.5 inch wood round, and I just glued it to here. Got the same ribbon here and a piece of a gem. So, and then I just added some blue hydrangeas here. But ideally, if I had more of these florals, I could have played around and made it more eclectic with the colors, right? But this is what I ended up doing, and so I did that. And then for this can, I just used the Dollar Tree silver ribbon. It's about almost 1 inch in length. It's almost 1 inch, so I had to put about 8 different wraparounds, and I did the same thing here. And then by the time I got to here, I just hot glued this dangling situation here again. So guys, I apologize 100% again for not having so I'll let you see. So I apologize for not having my footage for the tutorial, but if this is something you would like to recreate or bake to scale, like technically you could do this half the height. You know, you could even add another one on top. Like the possibilities are endless. So these are just some ideas. Remember, we're not professionals, y'all. So Miss Tammy, Ray, and I, we're not professionals. However, we have a little eye for some decor, and we are creative. And so what we're trying to do is just give you some ideas. So these colors are beautiful for the fall, and basically you can make this your own and do whatever it is that you wanted to do. So on the 4th of September is when we are going to actually, you're going to see the tablescape, right, with all of our creations. And don't forget, it's an open invite as well. So on the 4th, you will see it all displayed together, and so on and so forth. So thank you guys for stopping by my channel. Even if it's not for a wedding, you just want to make some decor for your home, because this bad boy is staying up. So thank you guys for understanding. I appreciate your grace ahead of time. Please make sure that you go check out Miss Tammy and Ray, and come back again next Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. We had to switch the time to 2:30. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. Hope you guys are having a fabulous week, and I hope you are safe, happy, healthy, and blessed.